This is the first close now below the 5-day moving average since we closed right over here, okay, right over here. And the next series of events, what happened.
Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for those who are committed to taking control of their trading in order to achieve success, profitability, and longevity. Thank you for joining us. Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
Hey guys, good evening everybody. Welcome to Monday edition of the AccessATrader.com nightly wrap-up show. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a good day of trading. Definitely some pretty good value out there. But let's kind of rewind 24 hours ago when we started talking about on the weekend update. And this is kind of very, very important, and it's going to set the stage for tomorrow's session. So we talked about, forget about what happened today. We saw a nice little sell-off today on all the indexes. We talked about this last night in the video. The last couple of times we hit the 20-day supply, we rolled over and went lower. Friday and Thursday, back-to-back days, hitting the 20-day supply. Lower highs, lower lows off the 20-day supply. And the question going into today's session was, as we talked about last night's video, there was a lot of names that actually looked pretty good, right? We talked about this last night on the video. NET looked really, really good. Even names like a Google, right? Like a Google who's sitting over the 50-day moving average looked really, really good. It actually put up a pretty decent move before the sell-off. Same thing with Apple. Apple was sitting there on the 20-day supply. So there was definitely some names that looked pretty good. The AFRMs of the world, right? AFRMs of the world before it kind of sold off. But the most important part kind of going into today's trading session was the names that were mirroring the cues that got stuffed back-to-back days. Were they able to reclaim supply, or were the bears, well, taking control after a pretty good dead cat bounce? And again, this is all it was, guys. Remember, it's super important. We talked about this last night in the video. It's super important to understand what this is and what this isn't. We are below the 50-day moving average, okay? There are no breakouts. There's a lot of individual, I wouldn't say a lot, but there was definitely a handful of individual names that looked pretty good and never sold off, right? The AFRMs of the world, the UPSTs, the Netflixes of the world, the Teslas of the world, right? They kind of sold off today towards the end of the day. But the most important part was, can the bulls stay above the 5-day and the 10-day moving average? And if you look at the close today, okay, you can literally almost think of what I'm about to say next. Tonight's video is basically like last night's video, right? If you guys remember last night's video, I said, look, you want to be ready on both sides, right? Yeah, there's some longs that look pretty good. There's some shorts that look pretty good. Tonight's video, just eliminate the longs, okay? And this is very, very important to understand that. This is the first close now below the 5-day moving average since we closed right over here, okay? Right over here. And the next series of events, what happened going into the next business day, right, was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row below the 5-day moving average, and we had a pretty aggressive sell-off going from 370 all the way down to 350 in a matter of a week, okay? And again, nobody's calling for Armageddon tomorrow, but again, if you believe in the theory that supply and demand works and stocks go from supply to supply, then you have to remember that the opposite. Stocks go from demand and all the way back to demand. So we have a lot of names tonight that closed below the 5-day moving average. For all you guys who are joining us here the first time around, the 5-day represents the shortest term sentiment, right? That's the shortest term sentiment. And today the Qs closed not only below the 5-day, which is the shortest term sentiment, they closed below the 10-day, which is the birth of the trade to the upside. That means it's the birth of the trade to the downside. And if you go through a bunch of charts tonight, and again, I always really encourage, especially newer traders. I don't care how talented you are, how talented you think you are. You got to put in your research every single night. You can't wake up. You can't wake up 5 minutes to the bell and say, well, what's on the hot stock list? It doesn't work that way. We don't trade, we don't chase hot stocks. We look for technical analysis that makes the stocks hot, right? That's the whole point of confirming technical levels on an organic basis. And if you go through your charts tonight, and it's not going to take you a lot of time. All you have to do is go through the NASDAQ 100 and you'll see the same exact setup for majority of the names. Look in the video, right? NVIDIA closed right at the 5-day moving average. Look at Amazon, right? It's closed right below the 5-day moving average. Look at Apple. Closed right at the 5-day moving average. You see a theme happening here? Look at Square. We covered Square in last night's video. Look what happened to Square. Destroyed, went right below the 5-day moving average, got destroyed. This thing has room all the way back down. So there's going to be a lot of names that look exactly the same. Look at a microchip, right? We covered microchip on last night's video. Closed below the 5-day, took out this whole channel, now it looks like next leg down. So there's a lot of value tomorrow to the downside. It's going to be very, very tough to kind of get to try to squeeze water out of a rock in a lot of these charts. A lot of these upside charts, look, is there some charts that look okay, right? This BROS looks okay to the upside if you could confirm today's channel. But the value, the absolute value is look at technology, look at the semiconductors, look at the software makers, look at anything to do with the components of the NASDAQ 100, and you will see really, really good value tomorrow to the upside, to the downside. So if you look at today's session, it kind of played out what we talked about last night in the video. There was some longs, but mostly there was some shorts, and the way the market closed today really confirmed, at least on paper, what tomorrow potentially could bring. Now again, remember, we're not guessing what's going to happen tomorrow, so we still have to wait for confirmation. But based on tonight's research and based on just basic technical analysis of stocks either closing below the 5-day or at the 5-day, if they confirm for tomorrow, it's not really a subject of technical discussion with somebody else. These things, if they confirm, again, if you believe in supply and supply, then you have to believe into demand in demand. So let's talk about, as you can possibly imagine, I'm pretty much sell bias for tomorrow. I would love to see a gap up in the market tomorrow, only because if these stocks get rejected into supply and they start rolling over green to red, then we'll have a really good, clear value of what potentially could happen tomorrow through today's ranges. So let's talk about today's pivots. Again, we talked about a lot of names on the weekend video, and they confirmed. They confirmed pretty well and gave pretty good moves. We talked about this it was one of the stocks in last night's video. I said I have no idea what they are, but this was the first close below the weekly trend line, and 73.50, 73. If it builds below, can flush. Here was FOUR, right? Here's FOUR. It took out this whole 74, 73 channel, closed right at the lows at $68. Just got absolutely destroyed. Congratulations for you guys who caught that. NET, right? It was one of the very few to the upside candidates, but NET on Friday, 137 rejected, went to 140, and today 140 needs to confirm for the next leg up, and here was NET. Great move. I mean, really, really great move. This thing is in its own bull market. It took out the 140 and traded right into supply at 146. I mean, what a monster. Incredible stud of NET. Boeing, we talked about Boeing in last night's video. 230 needs to build. The coolest part about it is when option flow correlates into a daily chart confirmation, it's usually all systems go, and it did exactly what we talked about. It took out the 230 and it traded right into supply here at 232. Remember, for the exception of like an NET, you're not gonna have many really good looking charts, and obviously the Dow is going to be sensitive on any type of volatility, especially in the diamonds. But a nice little pop there, 230. I mean, it didn't even have a downtick from this move here of 230. I mean, really, really good move on Boeing. DraftKings, I still like, never got to 47.50. Tesla, nice pop on Tesla, 797, went to about 802. It's still having problems. That's why I kind of want to watch both sides. TDOC didn't do much. It kind of died on a vine. I was watching that 133 level. It traded up to like 133 and 30s and then just kind of reverse course, did absolutely nothing. Microchip, we talked about in last night's video. 145 held 3 times. If it builds below, can flush. Here was Microchip, right? MCHP. Right here is Microchip, took out the 145, held it 3 times, closed at the lows here at 143.80. I still like this thing for more downside tomorrow. Square got demolished, absolutely demolished. 238 5-day support. If it builds below, can flush. We talked about in the webinar, it could get down to the 233 level. It traded down to 232. This thing still looks lower. I mean, look at the move here in the afternoon. Just once it started taking apart this whole 237 level, look at this thing, just absolutely destroyed here, trading 232 after hours. Roku never got above here. NET take on the way up. FUR just getting destroyed, just absolutely destroyed. Went down to 68. Boeing, they were coming in for the 32.5s, 35s. Again, the option flow dictated the underlying security. 145s actually traded down to 146. Square, 238. You know, we were talking about the 235 pre-market lows, traded all the way down to 232. 4, again, 68. Here comes, I said a puncher's chance at 233. It traded down to 232. So we're set up for tomorrow. Sometimes, again, you have to collect a lot of data. I was already pretty much sell buys going into today's session just because the sequence of events that happen around the 20-day moving average, excuse me, a wrong symbol, on the QQQs. Again, here's your point of reference here. 2 days in a row stuffed on the 20-day, sold off. Here was the 2 days in a row stuffed on the 20-day. Today sold off, and we closed below the 5 days. So again, if we have a gap up tomorrow, I am looking for a lot of these stocks to get stuffed into supply and then sell off, go green to red, breaking today's channels. Or if we gap down, we're obviously going to watch opening range lows. So guys, have a great night, everybody. Good job today. And with God's help, I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care, guys. Have a great day.